Have we, as women, become so obsessed with perfection that genuine connection feels impossible? Are men to blame for the dating chaos? Or are we projecting unrealistic expectations? Could the key to finding love be as simple as having a solid plan and respecting yourself? Why does it feel like your worth is tied to someone else's affection? Have you ever felt utterly worthless because someone didn't reciprocate your feelings? Is it possible to reclaim your self-esteem after experiencing the sting of unrequited love? Let's explore the complex landscape of unreciprocated affection and how to navigate its treacherous terrain. We'll examine the underlying reasons behind this painful experience and provide practical strategies for healing and moving forward. Unrequited love can manifest in various forms. Often, we think of it as a schoolyard crush. However, it frequently surfaces within the blurred lines of situationships, or even established relationships where the emotional investment isn't equal. These scenarios can be even more damaging because they offer a mirage of hope, a whispered promise of something more that never materializes. In these pseudo-relationships, you might find yourself caught in a loop of analyzing every text, scrutinizing every interaction, desperately seeking validation that the other person's feelings will eventually align with yours. It's a precarious position, walking a tightrope of hope and disappointment, knowing deep down that their heart belongs elsewhere. Perhaps they're still emotionally entangled with a past love or holding out for some idealized version of a partner that you simply don't fit. They might enjoy your company, your attention, even your affection, but they're hesitant to fully commit, keeping you at arm's length in case someone better comes along. The knowledge that you're essentially a placeholder, a temporary comfort, can be devastating. It's easy to fall into the trap of self-blame, to dissect yourself in a desperate attempt to identify what's lacking. If only I were more attractive, funnier, smarter, more successful, then they would finally see my worth. This internal monologue becomes a relentless barrage of self-criticism, fueled by the belief that their rejection is a direct reflection of your inadequacy. The shame associated with unrequited love is particularly insidious. It's the feeling that you weren't enough for someone you held in high regard, that you fell short of their expectations. This can trigger a deep sense of worthlessness, leading you to question your lovability and your overall value. However, it's crucial to remember that someone's inability to reciprocate your feelings isn't a reflection of your inherent worth. Feelings are complex and subjective. It simply means that you weren't the right fit for them, and they weren't the right fit for you. When faced with unrequited love, the first step towards healing is to recognize that their lack of affection is not a personal indictment. It doesn't diminish your value as a person, nor does it invalidate your capacity for love. It merely signifies a mismatch in compatibility. Instead of dwelling on your perceived shortcomings, shift your focus to evaluating whether this person truly met your standards for a healthy and fulfilling relationship. Were they emotionally available? Were they respectful of your needs? Did they demonstrate genuine care and concern for your well-being? Often the object of our unrequited affection falls short in these fundamental areas. We become so fixated on winning their love that we overlook the fact that they weren't offering the basic building blocks of a successful partnership. Love, acceptance, loyalty, kindness, and devotion are essential ingredients. And if they were absent, it's a sign that they weren't the right person for you, regardless of your feelings. It's easy to romanticize the person you long for, magnifying their positive qualities while glossing over their flaws. You might convince yourself that they're perfect for you, funny, intelligent, attractive, and kind, and that you share an undeniable connection. But if they don't reciprocate your feelings, it means that their experience of you doesn't align with yours, and that's a critical discrepancy. True love is reciprocal. It involves mutual desire, respect, and commitment. The right person will be eager to work through challenges, patient in allowing the relationship to unfold organically, and accepting of your imperfections. They will value your presence in their life so profoundly that they can't imagine being without you, and the feeling will be mutual. Clinging to unrequited love is like fixating on a beautiful pair of shoes that simply don't fit. No amount of admiration or longing will change the shape of your feet or the size of the shoes. It's a futile pursuit that ultimately leads to frustration and pain. And most profound healing comes from within. Unrequited love often amplifies existing insecurities and negative self-beliefs. It's a trigger that exposes underlying issues of low self-esteem and a scarcity mindset. The belief that you're inherently unlovable and that opportunities for genuine connection are rare. It's important to recognize that the object of your affection doesn't possess some divine authority to judge your worth. They are simply another human being with their own preferences, biases, and emotional baggage. Their inability to love you doesn't define your value as a person. The key is to decouple your self-worth from their opinion. Stop placing them on a pedestal and recognize that they are not superior or more deserving than you. Their rejection is simply a reflection of their individual preferences, not a commentary on your worthiness of love. This process requires a conscious effort to challenge negative self-talk and cultivate self-compassion. Treat yourself with the same kindness and understanding you would offer a friend who is going through a similar experience. Focus on your strengths, accomplishments, and the qualities that make you unique and valuable. Engage in activities that nourish your soul and bring you joy. Reconnect with friends and family, pursue hobbies that ignite your passion, and set goals that challenge you to grow and evolve. As you invest in yourself and cultivate a strong sense of self-worth, you will naturally attract healthier and more fulfilling relationships into your life. It's okay to grieve the loss of what you hoped for, but don't let it define you. Unrequited love is a painful experience, but it's also an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. By learning to love and value yourself unconditionally, you will become more resilient, more confident, and more open to receiving the love you truly deserve. Ultimately, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one you have with yourself. Nurture that relationship with kindness, compassion, and unwavering self-acceptance. When you truly love yourself, you will no longer seek validation from others, and you will be able to navigate the complexities of love with greater wisdom and grace. The most profound love you'll experience is the one you cultivate for yourself, shaping your ability to recognize and embrace genuine connection when it arrives. This journey of self-discovery transforms heartbreak into a powerful testament to your resilience and worthiness of love. Are you truly in charge, or is an invisible force dictating your choices? Could the relentless pursuit of pleasure actually be a path to self-destruction? What if your deepest desires are the very chains holding you back from your potential? Is your understanding of freedom just a cleverly disguised form of servitude? Is it possible that mastering your desires could unlock a level of power you never imagined? Man prides himself on mastery over the world, yet a primal drive often holds him captive. This is the glaring paradox of modern masculinity. He might command industries, spearhead technological advancements, yet a mere glance from a woman can unravel his carefully constructed facade. His focus wavers, his resolve crumbles. For all the grand declarations of independence and masculine prowess, many men remain subjugated, not by external forces, but by an ancient master, lust. While the insights of Friedrich Nietzsche are rarely associated with discussions of male desire, his critiques of weakness, conformity, and the inability of men to transcend their baser instincts speak volumes. In the natural order, unchecked desire isn't simply a distraction, it's a form of imprisonment. These cravings are the very shackles that impede a man's evolution toward a higher self. When ungoverned, lust diminishes the will to rise above, reducing it to a desperate need for gratification. It deceives through the allure of pleasure, convincing men that indulgence equates to freedom. Nature with surgical precision would expose this illusion. What men often mislabel as love or longing is frequently nothing more than a spiritual vulnerability, disguised in seductive trappings. At the core of this philosophy lies the concept of the will to power, a force often misconstrued as a hunger for dominance over others. Instead, the will to power is the driving force behind self-mastery, the ambition to bring order to chaos, to rise above the limitations of instinct. It's the vital force that compels a man to create, to endure, to overcome. Too many men exchange this higher calling for the fleeting satisfaction of pleasure. Where the will to power demands unwavering discipline, confrontation, and even suffering, the will to pleasure whispers temptations of comfort, ease, and surrender. Lust, in this context, transcends mere sexual desire. It signifies the erosion of a man's inner fire, the invitation to become passive, reactive, and ultimately controlled. In the endless pursuit of physical satisfaction and validation, a man dilutes his purpose, dissipating his strength through fleeting encounters and emotional dependencies. The man governed by lust is no longer the captain of his own destiny, but an addict feigning control. All too often, lust provides a refuge, a cowardly escape. Rather than confront the discomfort of personal growth, the serenity of solitude, the weight of responsibility, or the fear of mortality, men seek instant solace in external validation. Nature, which recognized suffering as essential for greatness, would find today's culture of instant gratification appalling, not for moral reasons, but because it breeds weakness. It reveals a generation of men who would rather mindlessly consume fleeting stimulation than confront their inner selves. They fear the emptiness within and attempt to fill it with fleeting connections. As Nietzsche said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Most men have lost their why, replaced by a who, the next conquest, the next distraction. Sexual indulgence becomes a means of avoiding the arduous process of building something lasting. They forge empires. They construct fantasies, escaping the very trials that forge character. Lust, therefore, is not rebellion, but retreat. One of the most profound observations arises when a man elevates a woman above himself. Contemporary romance idealizes the pursuit, the proving, the winning over of a woman as if she were the ultimate objective. Nature would caution that any man who elevates a woman to an idol has already diminished himself. He has committed a spiritual betrayal, choosing to see a woman not as a partner on his path, but as the path itself. He worships the feminine as his source of fulfillment, not as a reflection of his own. In doing so, he cedes control. She becomes his ruler, dictating his worth, his confidence, contingent upon her approval, his ambition shaped by her acceptance. The very man who quotes Nietzsche on power and self-overcoming transforms into a supplicant in her presence. Romanticism, in this view, often masks deep-seated insecurity, the inability to stand alone. A man who seeks salvation in a woman is not in love. He's surrendering. Herein lies the cruel irony. Modern men believe themselves free because they have access to immediate gratification. They believe their pursuit of women is a testament to their strength, their agency, their success. But nature would dismiss this notion with scorn. "You are not free," he would say, "but imprisoned by your own biology, seduced by a culture that profits from your lust, and enslaved by your need for external approval. You call it masculinity, but it is servitude. You believe you are in control because you initiate. But who truly controls the addict, the drug, or the user?" For nature, true freedom is not the capacity to indulge, but the power to resist, to refuse, to delay, to transmute. He would implore men to confront themselves in the mirror, to question whether their desires are their own, or whether they are being manipulated by an idealized image. Most men would discover that their actions, moods, and self-esteem are subtly governed by the allure of instant gratification. They are not truly masters, but puppets. Ultimately, nature presents a stark choice: break free from these chains or remain enslaved. The chains are not forged by her, but by unfulfilled needs, undisciplined desires, and a refusal to evolve. Desire es not inherentemente destructivo, y la mujer no es la enemiga, pero cuando ambas se convierten en el objeto de adoración, ese es cuando la esclavitud empieza. El hombre que no puede tomar su lujuria siempre será masterizado por ella. Él nunca trascenderá sus limitaciones porque está constantemente disminuyéndose. But the man who overcomes, who reclaims his will to power, who transcends the animalistic in pursuit of the divine, is not merely masculine. He is rare, powerful, and free. To escape this prison, a man must first understand that freedom isn't about unrestrained gratification. It's about transcendence. In Nietzsche's vision of the Übermensch, we encounter the archetype of the man who has risen above the base instincts of the masses, who no longer dances to the rhythm of primal cravings. The Übermensch isn't celibate out of fear, nor indulgent out of weakness. He is sovereign, in possession of himself. He uses desire rather than being used by it. In nature's perspective, lust isn't something to be suppressed in the name of morality, as some religious doctrines suggest. It is something to be transmuted, redirected toward a higher purpose. The raw sexual energy within a man is sacred fuel, yet most men squander it in the pursuit of fleeting pleasures. The elevated man, forged in the crucible of experience and solitude, understands that physical satisfaction is not the destination, but the starting point. It's the fuel that can either enslave him or propel him toward lasting impact, discipline, creativity, and influence. There's an almost monastic quality to nature's reverence for solitude. While the masses cling to others, partners, distractions, the philosopher, the artist, the warrior retreats into the silence of his own mind. Nietzsche admired the man who could stand alone, who didn't require external validation to affirm his worth. He believed that greatness often emerged from the quiet agony of solitude, a sentiment echoed throughout history. Consider figures such as Leonardo da Vinci, Nikola Tesla, Isaac Newton, and Beethoven. These were men guided not by primal urges, but by vision. Many of them abstained from relationships or practiced a form of conscious restraint, not out of rejection of women, but because their purpose was too profound to be diluted by constant desire. In solitude, they discovered focus. In restraint, they found clarity. And through that stillness, they shaped entire civilizations. The modern man shuns solitude because he fears what he might find there. But nature would argue that it's only in solitude that you encounter your highest self and confront your weakest aspects. Sexual discipline isn't about repression, it's about self-possession. In a world saturated with easily accessible stimulation, physical gratification, fantasies, and dopamine rushes, the man who controls his desires becomes magnetic. He stands out not because he seeks attention, but because he exudes something rare, mystery. Women sense it, honor men respect it, even if they don't comprehend it. When a man isn't driven by physical urges, he becomes unpredictable. He's no longer a pawn moved by base desires. He becomes a king without a visible crown, one who cannot be baited, seduced, or emotionally manipulated. Nature scorned the herd mentality, the impulse to conform, to be led. Too many men today follow their urges like sheep to the slaughter, told what to desire, who to pursue, and what it means to be a man. But the Nietzschean man, the rare sovereign, transcends that paradigm. He doesn't obey his impulses. He channels them, utilizing them to build, to conquer, to create. His detachment isn't coldness, it's command. Perhaps one of the most radical shifts nature would demand of the modern man is to cease viewing women as rewards. She is not a trophy to be earned by performance, nor a prize to be won through compliance. She is a mirror, reflecting back what you are or what you pretend to be. The man who sees her as a test, not a destination, remains in control. For him, every seductive glance, every emotional storm is merely an opportunity to remain centered, to remain grounded in his own truth. This form of masculinity isn't reactive, it's creative. He doesn't pursue, he builds. He doesn't seduce, he rises. And in doing so, the woman who is truly feminine will naturally follow. She's drawn to the man who doesn't need her, who doesn't orbit around her, who carries the weight of his own becoming. When she senses that he's moved not by her physical attributes, but by his own sense of purpose, she becomes loyal, not through force, but through admiration. In the final analysis, nature offers not condemnation, but confrontation. He poses one stark question: who governs you? If the answer is lust, then you are not a man, but a slave deluded by the illusion of freedom. But if the answer is self, if the answer is discipline, direction, and destiny, then you have embarked on the great journey. To lack desire isn't to be empty, it's to be full of purpose, full of clarity, full of untapped power. Lust is clamorous, transcendence is silent. Most men will perish in the clamor, chasing what they never truly needed. But the Nietzschean man, the one who reclaims his throne by mastering his lower nature, will die with fire in his eyes and a legacy etched behind his name. Because he didn't dedicate his life to the pursuit of fleeting physical satisfaction, he invested it in becoming someone unforgettable. It is not sufficient to simply understand that you are enslaved by your desires. Knowledge without action is merely decoration. Nietzsche did not write to console men, but to disturb them, to awaken something powerful and divine within. His message to modern men would be simple, yet severe. Save yourself, or be consumed. The world around you will not liberate you. It will seduce you, distract you, and numb you. It will offer endless pleasure and call it power, and validation and call it love. But it will never grant you the one thing you truly require: sovereignty. This you must seize for yourself, commencing not with a revolt against the world, but with total dominance over your lower self. The paramount commandment in reclaiming your manhood is discipline over indulgence. Train yourself to delay gratification, not for the sake of denial, but to cultivate inner strength. Your mornings must no longer begin with the distraction of the screen, with the endless scrolling of often degrading content disguised as social connection. Your nights must no longer culminate in the draining pursuit of fleeting pleasure, dissipating your vital energy for a moment of escape. Begin to track your own energy. Notice how your strength grows when you practice restraint, and how your clarity sharpens when you detach from the addictive cycle. Replace mindless consumption with a higher calling. Replace chasing physical connection with the pursuit of your potential. The modern man is broken, not because he lacks resources, but because he depletes his very essence on everything and everyone that momentarily flatters his ego. Cut off those leaks. Build containers for your power. A gym, a journal, a business, a craft, a daily ritual. In the absence of destructive cravings, greatness can begin to emerge. Redefine your relationship with woman, not by withdrawing in bitterness, but by interacting from a place of self-reliance, not dependency. Cease making women your motivation. Stop grounding your self-esteem in their approval. Let your grandest vision be your guide. Let the future version of yourself, 10 years wiser, more accomplished, stronger, be the one you aim to impress, not some fleeting image who wouldn't notice if you cease to exist. He would encourage you to surpass women, not in inherent worth, but in focus. Because she is not the enemy, she is the test. She will test your resolve, challenge you, heal you, or lead you astray. She will mirror your level of discipline, your depth of character. She will reward the man who remains unshaken by her presence, who doesn't succumb to her allure. Become that man, not by attempting to control her, but by mastering yourself. Remember, women don't follow men who pursue them. They follow men who pursue their vision. Embrace solitude as sacred. This will initially feel like a form of death. Your ego will rebel. Your loneliness will whisper insidious lies. The urge to reach for distraction, a woman, a screen, a quick fix, will feel unbearable. But persevere. Stay with yourself. It is only in that void that you will encounter your true potential. Solitude isn't valued because it's antisocial, but because in silence, the soul speaks. Do not fear being alone. Fear being dependent. Utilize your solitude to read, to contemplate, to suffer, to strategize, to build. This is where the inner fortress is erected, brick by brick, habit by habit, discipline by discipline. You are not missing out. You are transforming. The masses move aimlessly in packs. The sovereign walks alone with intent. Allow solitude to be your crucible. The future version of you awaits there. Develop a philosophical framework for transmutation. Understand that desire is not a curse. It is a divine force that must be channeled. Redirect your arousal into aggression in the gym, into charm and precision in your speech, into strategy in your business, into unwavering stillness in your leadership. Desire, when unchecked, makes you needy, erratic, and obsessive. But when mastered, it renders you magnetic. You enter spaces differently. You speak with authority. You move with intention. You begin to radiate something others might label an aura, but it's not magic. It's simply energy, no longer wasted. Study thinkers who understood this transmutation. Study those who understood the integration of the internal feminine so that you are no longer externally controlled by it. Read nature not for mere words, but for profound self-confrontation. Allow these figures to be your mentors, guiding you not for fleeting entertainment, but for lasting self-evolution. You will not be saved by society. or by a woman, or by any external source. You must liberate yourself. Declare war on your mediocrity. Refuse to live as a slave to your impulses. The world is already populated with men who are soft, weak, and dependent. Those who wear chains in the form of smiles. Don't join them. Be the one who walked away, who retreated into darkness and emerged as a force of nature. Be the one she could not control, the one they could not predict. And above all, be the one who transcended. The man who conquers desire conquers himself. The man who conquers himself conquers his world. That is the path forward. Walk it. A journey to self-mastery is a constant process of understanding and controlling our inner landscape. Every choice we make, whether toward indulgence or discipline, shapes the men we become. The power lies within us to direct our energy, to rise above our limitations, and to create a life of purpose and meaning. It is a journey of constant vigilance and unwavering commitment to our highest selves.